This is going to be a little bit of a shorter video than usual and maybe a little bit less formal because I want to take you behind the scenes, talk a little bit more about the new studio that I've got set up and highlight some of the things that I'm using in the studio that were sent to me by people. I mean, I tend not to cover stuff if they were sent by giant chickens or an industrious badger, but in the spotlight today is this UPERFECT 18.5-inch monitor. And it's a display that runs on USB power and can connect to USB-C display ports or HDMI. And UPERFECT originally reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to take a look at one of our monitors? And I originally thought, well, I don't have space for a giant lizard. But it turned out that that's not what they meant. So after a little bit of consideration, I said, yeah, man, I want to do it. And once I'd finished plundering the depths of Russ's copyright for handy little phrases or sayings, I wrote to them and accepted. Because there are times when I'm making a video where I want to run a device through a display adapter into a monitor, and I just didn't have a good way of doing it. I used this really old monitor when I made my Kinhank video, and I just wasn't pleased with the look of it at all. So I thought, great, this is going to expand what I can do, and it means that I'll have a monitor that I can put in front of the screen and film a bit better. And here it is. This is the 18.5-inch 1080p portable monitor by UPERFECT. But this isn't going to go in front of the screen like my original plan was. Instead, this monitor has solved a completely different and much bigger problem. And as always, I'm going to ask whether or not this 18.5-inch monitor really is UPERFECT, or is it a pain in the glass? Before we start, I do have some disclosures as well, because this was sent to me by UPERFECT to make content with. This is content, and they don't have any editorial control over what I'm saying here. No money's changed hands or anything like that. Actually, I tell a lie. Actually, some money has changed hands, but maybe not in the way that you expect, and you'll find out why a little bit later on. What UPERFECT have done, though, is send over a couple of codes, and if you want to order from them on the internet, there's a link and the codes in the description below. But if you are interested in, say, this monitor, it's got a current price of $209, I think, and these coupons would take it down to about $170. So it's a good saving if you want to do it. So this UPERFECT monitor has actually become a really important part of my studio setup. What you've actually got here is an 18.5-inch 1080p IPS monitor, and it's got a matte finish of it. And a lot of us, especially in the handheld scene, we're used to having glossier finishes, or we're used to having those high contrast panels because we're used to mobile phone panels. But that's not what you've got here. This is a more traditional sort of laptop screen. And you're going to have to temper expectations, which I suppose means that this is tempered glass, right? It's a 120 hertz panel, which is nice to see, and it's got two USB-C and mini HDMI ports. You've got a headphone jack, a kickstand, presumably in case you want to ride it like a motorbike, and you can screw a VESA plate on the back, which is how I'm using it in the studio here right now. It does have speakers, although the audio performance on this isn't very good. I mean, even at 100% volume, it can be a little bit difficult to hear anything. The fact is, these are two 1-watt speakers, and there was never going to be a version of this that sounded good. And in a portable monitor that's thin enough to slide into a backpack, it's never going to hide decent drivers. And look, I may be wrong, but I don't think that there's going to be anybody out there who's buying a portable monitor like this for the audio experience. What people want is the visuals. So what happens when you hook this thing up to a retro handheld? And linking this up was actually quite easy to do. I put a powered USB cable into the monitor, and then a USB-C to USB-C cable onto my Odin Portal 2. And you know, the great thing about this monitor is that it charges the portal as you're playing it. And I rather like that. And if you've never done this before, blowing up an Odin 2 portal to a bigger screen is a bit of a different experience. The picture will scale really well because it's basically 1-to-1. But sitting next to the smaller OLED panel, you can see where the trade-off is in having a matte IPS screen like this. The big benefit, of course, is that under these studio lights, you won't be seeing the same sort of reflections that you would get on the Odin. In fact, because of its all-glass front, the Odin reflects more than a room full of pensioners when the Antiques Roadshow comes on. When you fire up a game, the motion looks smooth, to my eyes at least, and this is one of the benefits of having a panel at 120 Hz, although I can't tell if that's the signal coming through from the Odin 2 portal, but I don't see any obvious smearing or ghosting going on. The picture actually seems to hold up pretty well, and the question isn't whether I would play like this, because actually I have played like this before. But let's face it, we have all played like this before. But times have moved on. And if you're used to the sort of monitors that we get in our computers nowadays, then you might look at this and think, well, maybe it's a little bit washed out, maybe the contrast isn't as good. But look, think about what's in those monitors. They are mains powered. They're not portable. They've got room inside for better components. This isn't in the same category, and every portable monitor is paying a tax for being 18 millimeters thick and running off a USB cable. And then when you take all of that into consideration, I've actually been pretty impressed with this. It's a big, matte, portable second screen. It's not LTPS, it's not OLED. And if that's your reference point, then you're going to be disappointed just purely because of the physics rather than the product. But when I saw this, and I thought, you know, this is good enough to me that maybe I can use this differently. And that is where we got onto what I'm really excited to talk to you about, what I'm actually doing with it in this studio right now. So this is the new studio space, and a lot of this stuff is things that I've bought myself over the years, in fact, but on occasion I can use some of the products that have been sent to me for review. And I had this problem because whilst I've got this nice big table with this nice big 43-inch TV for my backdrops, and I've got the same studio lights that I've been using in videos before, what I didn't have was the lovely, great, big, powerful PC that I use to edit those videos. So if I wanted to go through and check what I said and what shots I need to get, I've got no way of doing it. I mean, I could run up and down stairs, but at my age and at my weight, a coronary was right behind me. And he wasn't even my favourite James Bond. So that's where this monitor comes in. And the Kinhank, I reviewed that a little while ago. It's an Android TV box, and it's perfect for running Artemis. So between my powerful PC running DaVinci and Apollo, and the upstairs Android box running Artemis connected to this very monitor, I can actually play back my videos and interact with DaVinci as if I am editing them downstairs. And that means this monitor has become the very heart of my operation up here. And here's the other great thing about this. Everything I've got on this little desk to the side of me, the iPad, the speaker, I've got a keyboard and mouse as well, the monitor, they're all running from the USB ports of the Kinhank X5. So this whole desk just needs one power cable coming out of it and going into the mains. And the matte finish, which, okay, to be fair, I was a little bit sniffy about earlier. You know, so sniffy, in fact, you might have thought that I've got some sort of allergic reaction to a non-OLED panel. Well, it turns out that that finish is perfect for this particular environment because I've got these studio lights on, and because, of course, light bounces all over the place and reflections on this monitor would kill its utility stone dead. And I've had that problem when trying to use the iPad with the lights on, but I don't get them with this monitor. But I still had to be able to show a screen on my videos, something which was bigger than a normal handheld screen, something where I could show gameplay or test out a display or something like that. And if you remember at the beginning of the video, I said that some money had changed hands between myself and UPERFECT, because I went out and with my very own money, I bought a 15.6-inch portable monitor from that very same company. And this is going to be the monitor that you might see crop up in my videos from time to time. And again, major benefit, it's a matte finish, which means that the studio lights in here aren't going to be so bright that it looks like I'm filming in Benidorm. And I think it says something about my experience with this 1080p panel because I've built this studio on an incredibly limited budget. And I choose to put some of that incredibly limited budget into a product based on my experiences with a very similar product from the same company. But that's it for this little behind the scenes sojourn. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm planning to do a few more of these, showing off a few little bits around the studio, why I've chosen to do what I do, what the process is, all of that. And in fact, one of them might actually feature this very chair that I'm sat on right now. But I hope you've enjoyed yourself with this video, seeing a little bit of the experience behind the curtain. And if you have done, then why not leave a comment below, tick that thumbs up box, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe. And I'll see you the next time that we step into the retro corner, this time with better lighting and a higher quality joke count. But until then, thank you ever so much for coming along, and happy gaming.